Today on How I Got Here, I'm sitting down with Mary Pat Hector, a woman who stepped into leadership long before she had her driver's license. She started organizing at 12, ran for office at 19, and was the youngest woman and person of color to do it in Georgia. As CEO of RISE, she helps students fight for free college, end student hunger, and become powerful voters. She has mobilized millions of young people and helped reshape civic engagement across the country. In this conversation, we talk about growing up in purpose, the weight of being the youngest and often the only, and the legacy she is building for the next generation. This is Mary Pat Hector, and this is how she got here.
The statistics are the statistics. Like when founders leave organizations, sometimes dollars leave. When founders leave organizations that are white males and like Black women step into those roles, there are other challenges and things that come with that. Because a lot of historically Black colleges and universities can't be completely free because a lot of them are private institutions.
Right.
Beyond that, as a student who's an advocate for HBCUs, I know that like completely free college might like kill HBCUs.
Mary Pat, my girl.
I'm very excited about this podcast.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. I really, really am. Because I tell you, I think you're amazing.
Thank you so much.
And I think you need to recognize that. But I want you to take me back to the first time you realized you were not just speaking up, you were organizing, right? So what do you remember about that moment? And what did it wake up in you?
For me, I don't ever think I realized like there was a special moment for me. It was always something that was like ingrained in me from my mom. So, I mean, literally just 2 days ago, I was on a food truck for like 18 hours because my mom forgets that like I have a job. And she's like, today we have to like go and feed the community. So like that's just stuff that my mom will randomly do on a Tuesday. But growing up, my mom has always like told us, you know, use your voice. Like never feel like, you know, you can't speak up when something's wrong, whether it's with you or someone around you. And so I don't necessarily feel like there's ever like a time where I'm like, this was the moment. I just kind of feel like it's always been something that it had been ingrained in not only myself, but also my siblings to speak up. Like for as long as you have a voice, you can say or do something.
Growing up in Atlanta and later attending Spelman and then Georgia State put you in the heart of Black history and Black excellence, right? And so how did that environment shape you into believing what's possible?
That's such a good question because I feel like people from Atlanta, one, you rarely meet anyone from Atlanta in Atlanta anymore. Like once you meet someone who's actually from here, it's like a unicorn. But I really never realized or recognized the privilege that you have being from Atlanta until it was actually my partner who was like, you know, Atlanta just doesn't feel like a real place. Like,
It doesn't.
Black people thriving in this capacity doesn't happen really anywhere else. Like, yeah, you might have a few in New York, you might have a few in LA, but like Black people thriving in the capacity or in the way in which they do in Atlanta just does not feel normal. Like, you can call you can text the mayor of Atlanta.
Can you text the mayor?
I can text the mayor of Atlanta. I can text the congressman. I could, like, that's... But, like, who doesn't have the mayor's number? Like, you know, like, this is Atlanta. We all know everybody. Everybody knows somebody who knows something about it. So I really feel like we are spoiled and we don't recognize the, like, privilege that we have being able to be so connected and, like, know this person or know that person. Because we could put two and two together in this city. Ooh, for sure. But I feel like it's just because we don't know. Like, you're just so used to it. I do feel honored to be able to have, like, grown up around so many amazing people, whether that's, like, politically or, you know, organizationally. Like Elizabeth Omalami from, like, Hosea Feed the Hungry. And, like, now her work in this moment is more important now than ever because you have so many people who are experiencing houselessness and food insecurity, not only in Atlanta, but also across the state of Georgia. Or Helen Butler, who, like, registers and mobilizes the most voters in the state of Georgia and has, like, 8 offices across the state. And sometimes I use her. So I'm like, when I can't get something done, I'm like, you know what? If I call Miss Helen can get a yes out of so-and-so and so. So it's also an honor to be able to, like, have grown up under so many amazing Black women who have kind of like chartered the way, are always there that I can kind of lean on when I need some kind of support or just direction.
I love that for you, especially in this space. At 18, you were in the Oval Office advising President Obama on criminal justice reform. What did that moment shift for you? Not just in your work, but how you understood your own power.
Wow.
Because at 18, that's wild at 18.
Yeah, though the funny thing is I actually got the call to go to the White House when I was at Spelman. I was literally like in an art class that I was required to take. I literally was failing art.
How do you feel art?
How do you feel art? I'm not like the artistic person. Like, I don't want to journal with you. I don't want to LOL, so you can imagine me. You know? I'm like, why do we have to touch this grass? You know? But it's okay. We're getting there. And I'm like, in art class, I'm like, why? This is so dumb. Like, I don't want to draw. And I got a call. I'm like, hey, you need to be in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, you know, you're going to the Oval Office, send over your details. And I remember being in that room talking about gun violence prevention, talking about, at this time, we were talking a lot around, I said, like, the Black Lives Matter movement, policing in America, the impacts of Black and brown people. But this was also the last and final year that the president was actually in the White House. And in that room was C.T. Vivian, who is no longer with us. There was also Congressman John Lewis and a few others that aren't with us anymore. It was unrealistic because who would ever thought like the president of the United States would be quoting Chris Tucker and like, like Chris Tucker in an official meeting. But then also how do we even, I don't even remember. Because at that time, everyone was laughing and I'm thinking, I don't know anything about Chris Tucker. I'm not that old, LOL.
Oh.
Even though they try to play me, I'm being funny, Drina.
I know, I'm like, don't. I was like, don't do that.
And call me a millennial. I am not a millennial.
She's mad because she's on the cusp of being
I am not a millennial, okay? Like, I was born in 97, but 97 is the Gen Z year.
You're a zillennial.
Okay.
She was not feeling a Forbes article.
She was no, I love the Forbes article, but they were trying to call me an auntie.
No, they weren't.
That, if you speak to my brother who was like 19, and he was like, whoa, they called you a millennial. Like, they were dragging me, but it's okay. It's okay, but that moment for me specifically it was unrealistic because it really just validated for me the work that I had been doing for all this time. And I think oftentimes when you're a young person who does this kind of work, you know, the elders are always using your ideas or they always have you in the room as like this prop to say like, this is my young person. But it validated my voice. It validated the work that I had been doing. And it told me that, or it showed me that there was value in it or that people did see the work even when I felt like they didn't.
You ran for office at 19. Again, crazy. And lost by only 22 votes. What did that season teach you about resilience and who you were becoming?
So again, y'all, I was a student at Spelman. First of all, shout out to all of the HBCUs because I feel like those are the only spaces for young Black people that just tell them they can do anything.
Yep.
And at that time, I felt like I really could. And so not only was I still a full-time student, but I realized that like talking about—
You were full-time?
I was a full-time student when I ran. I was a full-time student doing it all. And during that time, I realized that I needed to do more than just organize. Like, I had to have a policy aspect, and that there needed to be a policy aspect in order for us to change a lot of the issues that we were facing directly within my community, specifically the east side of Atlanta. Not East Atlanta, the east side. I think you always, sometimes you have to just specify for the people.
What's the difference?
Okay, so like we are in East Atlanta, like Old Fourth Ward, that kind of like we're in East Atlanta. But the east side is more so like Decatur, Lithonia, Stone Mountain, like, you know, you get deep into the east side. So growing up in that particular area, I just knew that in order for us to see different change around like, you know, investing more into our communities, addressing violence and gun violence prevention, like there needed to be a policy aspect. And there was only one way to do it. Like, let's just run for office. It was city council. It wasn't like I was running to be the president of the United States of America, looking at things. Maybe I could run to be run to be the president of the United States of America, and just see what I could do in that position. That was really one of the hardest seasons. I feel like that was one of the two hardest seasons I think I have ever been in my life, where, you know, there was this talk of like, we want more young people doing this. We want more young people politically engaged and involved. Every door I knocked, it felt like these people did not want young people to be politically involved or anything.
What were they saying when you were knocking on them?
Oh my gosh, Drina, I don't even remember. I think I remember going to court because my race was contested. Okay. So I remember going to court and there being like a whole bunch of people on the left side of the room, like fighting for me not to even be able to run in general. And I just thought that was crazy.
Why, because of your age?
Yeah, because I could pay taxes. I could go and fight in the military. I can't just run for city council. Like, if I lose, I lose. I win, I win. I remember that. But at the same time, there was like another whole side of the room that was like, no, like, let her run. Like, let's see what happens. But I just remember all of the dirty games that had been played on the other side. Like, I went to a meeting with a very wealthy man in DeKalb County. And I remember him just sitting me down. And I'm thinking he, like, you know, wants to talk to me about my platform, all this stuff. And he's like, just, you know, you think that this is good for you, but I don't, you know, he starts bringing up mentors. Like, it was just a very weird situation. And I remember leaving that meeting, but this is Atlanta. After that meeting, I remember leaving that, and I remember calling Tommy Dortch, who was a mentor of mine. He passed away as well. But I remember calling Tommy Dortch, just crying, like, he brought me into that room, and he just, whatever. Tommy Dortch picked up the phone. That man called me back and said, I'm donating $5,000 to your campaign. I said, wow, look at that. Look what the money man do. Okay? So I remember that conversation, and I remember that time, and it was really, really difficult. So I told my mom and everybody else, I was like, I don't ever think that I really want to run for office again.
Really?
I was so depressed. I was so down after that time. When the election was finally over, I did feel like a large bit of relief. But I remember saying, like, I just respect anybody who runs for office. Like, Republican, Democrat, progressive, like, whatever. Anyone who puts their name on that ballot and runs campaigns and, like, deals with what I had to go through, I just, like, have the utmost respect for them, because it is so hard to have, like, your life scrutinized consistently in a public way.
And you weren't expecting that?
I really wasn't expecting that. I honestly wasn't expecting that. But I did promise myself following that moment that, like, whenever a young person runs for office again, like, I want to be able to support them in any way that I can. And this year was really big for me because a lot of the young people that had been in our organization or, like, you know, recently left our organization are, like, running for mayor, running for school board right here in Atlanta. Before I even came here, one of our student organizers, Royce Mann, is running for school board. He just made it to a runoff. So we'll see December 2nd what happens with his election. But I've been very, very proud of the work that I've been able to do in contributing to other young people running for office and hopefully winning.
I was going to ask, is that your loss? Is that, like, the point where you were like, I want to create something to help the next generation of leaders run? And that's where Equity for All came from? Yeah,
that actually is. So I had the opportunity through an organization called the Highland Project to think about, like, what my legacy would be and, you know, imagine, like, what that would look like. And for me, that was ensuring that young people had support, specifically in the South, to run for office and gain access to power politically, whether that was by running for office and winning or by receiving appointments on, like, boards, like EMC boards, right? If you're a person who cares about climate justice. Or for me, I've been serving on a watershed board for DeKalb County for a few years now, but, like, having those opportunities to lead and be able to influence policy change and seek equal representation opportunities is extremely important. And so for me, that was my legacy. That's what I wanted to contribute to the world. And so I had the opportunity to found Equity for All. They've actually been doing some really, really good work, not only supporting young people in accessing equal representation opportunities, but also by supporting young people mobilize the vote. And they do it in a really, really fun way, a way that I couldn't do it, like the organization I'm in, like Rise, like we would never do something like that. Well, maybe now we would, right? But at the time,
like what?
Oh, so they had this initiative called Bad Bitches Vote Too.
Ooh. schools.
Yeah, and they would like go and they would have all of the baddies. And I remember I was very, very pregnant. But I'm going to give you a clip. Because I was like, there's no way I can't go to one of the baddies well, too. So I was very pregnant. I was very pregnant in the club. Yes, being a baddie. I went once,
Wait, it was in the club?
It was once. They did club tours. I only went once. It was like early pregnancy.
Look,
the baby's fine. The baby's fine. She's okay. She's thriving. But I was like, no, I want to just see what this is about. So like the baddies would like just, I mean, the girls were outside. And they would be in the sections. Well, just because, you know, the hookah smoke and the baby's okay. But the girls would be in the section with the bottles and like talking to the dudes, like giving them information about voting, talking to them about upcoming elections.
I love that.
They would do like pop-ups at like bike shows. And I'm like, the shorts and the shirt, like they had the whole thing going on. And I'm like, okay, this is what equal representation looks like. Like, this is meeting the people where they are. And I think oftentimes in this work, people target voters that they know will show up. And that leaves a lot of young people who feel like, you know, these organizations only want to talk to certain kinds of people. And so they have some really, really fun, like, cool initiatives and things that they're doing. And I'm just so proud that I was able to, like, plant that seed. And it's thanks to Highland. For sure.
Now as CEO of Rise, you are leading a national movement of students that are fighting for free college, financial aid, and basic needs. When did it hit you that this work had grown into something bigger?
So I actually started as a student organizer at Rise when I was a student at Spelman. Girl, I did it all at Spelman. So at this time,
running for office, going to the White House.
I led a hunger strike at Spelman.
I know, we were about to get to that. But okay,
well, that's what brought me into Rise. That's what brought me to Rise. So I ended up leading a hunger strike at Spelman to bring awareness to food insecurity that was happening at historically Black colleges and universities. And I got involved with
But like, what were you seeing that really made you like want to do, like, start the hunger strike?
Yeah, so
Was it just at Spelman or was it at?
So originally this was at Spelman.
Okay.
We ended up gathering I ended up like starting a registered student organization on campus. And we ended up gathering some women entrepreneurs across Atlanta to monthly donate $1,000 from their business to students. So we would give away like a $10,000 scholarship a month to a girl at Spelman.
You led this?
Yeah. And so all a student had to do was like do a video for like 30 seconds talking about what she would do with the money. And like it shouldn't be about like school because we wanted to support students. Like I just need $10,000. Girl, you might need $10,000 for your rent. You might $10,000 for a new car so you can make it to campus because you can't afford to live on campus. Like, what would you use this money for? And a lot of girls would talk about, like, food. But our RSO was also registered at Morehouse, and so the Morehouse students began doing, like, the same program.
Oh, wow.
Just to kind of see, like, what were some of the needs happening at Morehouse College. And this time we also connected with, like, SGA, a few other RSOs on campus.
How does it spill into the work you're doing at Rise?
So, yeah, fast forward, I ended up getting connected with the organization.
Through Spelman.
Through Spelman. And I realized that the organization was doing great work, providing students with like access to meals and stuff on campuses across the country, fighting for free education, fighting for affordable education in places like California and Michigan. But one of the things that the organization did not have was an HBCU-specific arm, or an arm that focused a lot on minority-serving institutions, as we will see in the free college and college affordability space, right? Because a lot of historically Black colleges and universities can't be completely free because a lot of them are private institutions.
Right.
Beyond that, as a student who's an advocate for HBCUs, I know that, like, completely free college might, like, kill HBCUs. And so, like, how are we fighting for investments in minority-serving institutions? How are we fighting for more college affordability and college affordable options so that students can still choose to go to these institutions, but also ensuring that our institutions are just around and, like, stronger investments from the administration into HBCUs? And so I literally reached out to Max, who was the founder of the organization, and I was like, why aren't y'all doing anything around HBCUs and, like, minority-serving institutions? And I literally had the opportunity to, like, create my own job description. And that's how I came into Rise.
I just love that, because you are fearless.
Literally. And then, but I will say, I was not fearless in taking the job. Maxwell will tell you, he reached out to me and was like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about stepping down. Like, have you ever thought about, like, leading your own organization? And I want to say this conversation even happened before I had an opportunity to think and dream with like Highland. I was like, you know, Max, life for me is good right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'd ever want to like think about paying 200 people. And like the sleepless nights that you have to endure. And like, that doesn't sound fun to me. I'm living my life right now. I'm going to Ghana every 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, life is great. And I want to say a few months later, I think he announced that he was actually stepping down. And I applied, and I got the job. Yes, I applied and I got the job. But what really pushed it over the edge for me was when I spoke to Maxwell. He was like, Mary, like, I remember something you said to me when you told me you wouldn't apply. And that was like that you were like, you didn't feel like raising money. You didn't want to do this. You didn't want to do that. But like, let's just be honest. If you don't do those things, then you'll always work for somebody else. Like, you'll never be able to be your own boss. You'll never be able to lead your own organization. Like, you'll never be able to grow. Like, you'll be stuck in a position like this forever. And so it's either you decide that you want to like continue to do this forever and like be a state organizing director, or if you want to be a leader who can like lead a national organization who can raise money and prove that you can like raise money and like manage a staff and like do all of these things. And he was very transparent, like, you know, we'll be here to support you. We'll make sure you have a supportive board. We'll get you, you know.
He's setting you up for success.
Yeah. I feel like in a way, I also feel like there's always the statistics are the statistics. Like when founders leave organizations, sometimes dollars leave. When founders leave organizations that are white males, and like Black women step into those roles, there are other challenges and things that come with that, you know? And so I think that, you know, some of the things that I experienced when I first stepped into the role were things that happened. Like I looked into it before I took the job, and I was a little afraid of failure, but I always laugh because you saw me kikiing with Shelly. I think I remember Drina was like, Mary and Shelly have been in the corner in Puerto Rico kikiing and laughing the whole week. But I remember being on a bus with Shelly. No, I remember being in Highland. I don't know if we were I think we were like in North Carolina a year prior to. Shelly had just been appointed CEO or like executive director of an organization called Instituto. At the time, she was like 24 years old. I was younger than her. But I just remember like what she was experiencing during that time and like how our Highland sisters like really like supported her during that time. And I remember being on the back of the bus with Shelly, and I was like, girl, I'm about to do this thing. I think I'm going to get a job. I don't know, girl, I'm scared. And Shelly was like, girl, you're going to be okay. Like, I'm going to be there to support you. And Shelly is actually a member of our board now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's very, very supportive. But I just remember, like, just needing that kind of, like, push. Because, like, how crazy is it that now I'm sitting on the same bus on, like, on another Highland trip at 24 talking about how I'm about to, like, do this thing. And I feel like I've shocked myself, as I've shocked everybody else, about, like, what we've been able to accomplish at the organization. Like, my first year and a half, we ended up scaling, going into more states.
How many states are y'all in now?
So actually, I guess you can kind of say like how do I say this? Our programming looks a little bit different this year, just because like stuff is hard for foundations and organizations right now. Originally, we were in about 4 states. When I became CEO a year and a half later, we were in about 7. So in 2024, we organized in all 7 swing states and did some organizing in California. Now, we don't have the same like organizational approach this year, post-2024, because the money is not moneying like it was prior to. And I think a lot of foundations, a lot of organizations are afraid to give to progressive organizations because of retaliation from the administration and just not wanting to be like under that kind of scrutiny right now. So we ended up minimizing the like staffing capacity that we have historically been known for, but like we have larger reach. So now we have a presence in over 10 states across the country. And going into 2026, we have a very, very big election year. And so right now we're in the strategic planning process to see like, where does the organizing on the ground look like for Rise? Where does that work look like digitally for us? Because in one instance, our funders are like, you gotta be online, right? And that's like 2025, you gotta be online. But now, we're getting into 2026. And a lot of young people, or a lot of people in general, are like, I actually want to be offline.
Yeah.
Take me off of TikTok. I don't want to see it anymore. Like, I'm doom strolling at 3 a.m. I'm trying to figure out, do I need to book a flight one way to Antarctica to, like, escape it all? And so a lot of them are like, well, how do we get offline? So we are still in, like, the reimagining process right now, because I think elections and, like, organizing voters, it looks so different. And not only just for us as an organization that mobilizes young people, but I think across the country, like if you're mobilizing any kind of voter, strategies and things that you did before this year, it's just never gonna look the same. I think 2024 showed us that, like, how we organize voters, not just Rise, but like every organization in the progressive space, you're gonna have to step it up a notch. And I think that's what everyone is currently in, that, like, what does this look like? What is this, what are we gonna do stage? But I think we're cooking up some good stuff and go through that process. But I'm excited to show or be able to let people see what we're able to do next year.
What are you hearing from students today, though, about how they really feel about power, democracy, and how they're shaping the future, though?
I feel like young people are, sadly, I feel like they're disappointed.
Yeah.
They're disappointed in, like, the elected officials. They're disappointed in the political process, because for so long they've been saying, like, do I vote? I don't really want to vote. We've been pushing them to vote. And then, like, everything that they said is happening. Like, our elected officials really aren't going to speak up for us. Our elected officials are bought by billionaires, and, like, they don't, and it's like these things are actually happening in real time. And so it's like encouraging them or having them reimagine what showing up looks like, maybe not on just the federal level, but on the state and local level. We've seen so much great things happen this past election with local elections in places like New York and places like Virginia. We also have other local and state-based elections coming up, even in places like Tennessee, where I'm actually excited to see what could potentially happen in Tennessee.
Okay.
Like, we know historically it's been red, but, like, based on what's happening, could it turn blue? I don't know. But also the need to really invest in the South. I think for so long people didn't look at the South until 2020, 2021, when Georgia was able to, like, flip, and people were like, oh. And then they started investing in North Carolina, and they're like, oh. So if we actually invest in Georgia, we actually invest in North Carolina, like, we could probably get some wins. So what does it look like if we do invest in Tennessee? What does an investment look like in Louisiana and Mississippi? Elected officials supporting the administration instead of holding their ground.
Yeah, they're feeling, like, disappointed.
Yeah, just disappointed, and, like, the need or want to see equal representation. And so we saw when they get candidates that they could believe in, like in places like Virginia, where not only, they made history with, like, the gubernatorial election, but also a soror of mine, Dana Bryant, actually became one of the youngest people to become a school board member in Virginia this past election. Zoran Mamdani, who won his election in New York, and countless other elections. But then also I feel like what I'm throwing to them is to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
Like, try what Mary Pat did when she was 19 and, like, run for office and, like, let's just see what happens. There was a young man in Georgia who was running for mayor in Marietta who lost his election by 28 votes. At the same time, there was a young man in his 20s who went to Clark Atlanta University who became the youngest mayor ever in Stockbridge, Georgia, in his early 20s. And things are happening, but I really want to see more of them putting themselves out there and, like, taking that power back, because the numbers don't lie. Like, young people are becoming the majority. And there's no reason why our electorate does not look like us. And that's what they want to see. But the only way that we can change that is if they actually put themselves out there and run.
You've been the youngest, the first, and the only in, like, a lot of rooms over your career path. How has that influenced the way in which you move through leadership, and what has it cost you? Because you're talking about telling young people just to, like, show up, right? And you've done that. And you've done that being the youngest, the only, and the first a lot of these times. So looking back over those lessons that you've learned, like, how does that chart your leadership path forward? But also, like, what does it cost you during this time?
I feel like as a leader, that kind of like is why I'm able to do the things or why I do the things that I do or take the approach that I take in or like managing my staff or the decisions I make and budget ensuring that like all young people get paid that interact with our organization to sustain and like take care of themselves. But I also think that there's still moments where I experience things that I did experience when I was 16, right? Where I'm still at this capacity or scale, you know, when you think about all of the Gen Z young people who lead these large organizations, many of them are still run by young Gen Z white males. And, you know, we are in community with one another, or if not just white males, males in general. And so oftentimes when, you know, they're having collaborative funder meetings together, we're never like a part of those conversations. Yeah, girl, like, right? And
they're having funder meetings?
Yeah, they work together, they fundraise together, all of these things, and like we're never a part of those conversations. And it's so funny because I remember during a panel recently, one of them mentioned, oh yeah, like me, and they mentioned on the panel, like all of the top youth Gen Z organizations that are run by young men had been like working on this like strategy and like doing this whole like fundraising campaign together. And I was like, oh, like we weren't invited to that meeting. Actually, we're never invited to those meetings. Oh, so wow. Interesting. And they were like, oh, you're going to get a call. Never got that call. But so those things still happen, right? And, you know, we have to make a way. But I think also beyond it in I guess, impacting the decisions that I make and how I interact with my team, ensuring that their voices feel heard. When young people say, like, Mary, you know, we love the national strategy, but, like, this is probably what will work best in Virginia, or this is probably what will work best in Michigan or Pennsylvania, ensuring that they know that their voices are being heard on that state strategy development, but also investing financially into their ideas. Like, I had the opportunity to have, like when Max was the CEO and I came to him with the HBCU strategy, I came to him with all these ideas. It was very rare that I heard the word no. And I like to keep that same kind of like energy with my team as well, because I saw how impactful it was for me as an employee who believed in this organization and work. But also just things that it's cost me, girl, my mind. It's cost me my mind. I remember when I was my senior year in college, I like went to a party. It was like senior week. And I saw somebody and they like looked at me and they're like, girl, what are you doing here? We have never seen you at a party, like ever. And I'm like, that has been my life. Like I've always kind of like put like the fun or like the other things aside in the name of the work. And it honestly hasn't been until like recently where I'm like, you know what, girl? I guess you're a millennial. So you're not getting any younger. You might as well, you know, like really center fun too, enjoy like, and also like relationships, not only just like romantic relationships, but like friendships. Right? And like being able to like stop sacrificing moments and time with friends or like not going to their events or doing stuff with them or for them. And so as of like recently, I'm starting to like take those things more serious. But I also think about the times where like in your 20s when people say like they did all these things. I didn't do that in my 20s. I was at work, you know, or I was, you know, doing other things. And so I think those are also sacrifices that we make too. In the work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think for you specifically, people see the numbers, right? The millions that you've mobilized, thousands that you've registered, but not the emotional, like, baggage and weight of the work. And so I'm hearing now that, like, now you're like, I'm going outside. But what have you...
Well, that was before I became a wife and a mom. Well, I literally only had like a year. I had a year outside. It was a good year.
I mean, it was a great year. Periodically.
It was a great year.
The baby's getting older. The baby's fine.
I don't even feel like going outside anymore. My friend was like, "Give me my birthday's coming up, and it's next week." And she was like, "Oh, like let's do something for your birthday." I was like, "Girl, no.
Do something for your birthday."
I'm asleep. I'm going home in the bed. I'm tired. I don't want to. I might cancel the plans that we have. We're doing like a Friendsgiving. I might be like, y'all.
I think you still should.
We'll see. It was a great year. I had a run. It got me married and I
had a run.
So there that is, you know.
But going back to the emotional weight of the work, right? What is something that you've learned in those quiet moments where it was hard?
Again, like the importance of sisterhood and friendships. at that time, I was able to lean on people that had been there before. Like, I was able to lean on Tamika Mallory, who's a mentor of mine. She actually gave me my first job when she was the executive director of National Action Network. It was her who was like, you know, want you to be like the, you know, the national youth director of NAN. But I remember when she had all of these like moments, right? Ups and downs in her career that were very public. And I had been able to be there for her, but because she's been there, because she's like had that experience, she's always been someone who's like, let's figure out how we can like make sure you win in this moment.
Yeah.
Or this is what I would do, you know, or, you know, let's take this approach. And it's so funny because she always encourages me to take like an opposite approach than she would.
Okay.
You know, like, I feel like she's like, Mary, this is not you.
Because she's like, also lesson learned.
Yeah, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, and she'll even say in some instances, like, maybe I shouldn't show up. Maybe my voice should not be in this room for you. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if
I'm not the right person.
Yeah, maybe I'm not the right person to like convey this message for you in this space. Maybe my voice would be better served in this other kind of space.
Oh, but you need people like that.
Yeah, you need people like that. And so just the importance of like sisterhood or just friendship where I could just literally cry on the phone and say, girl, we had 3 months runway and I don't know how we about to pay these people in 3 months, but we're going to figure it out. And it always works out. It always works out. Or, girl, this all crumbles. I remember when I first became the CEO of Rise, it was like the first 6 months and like the bills were billing and like the money wasn't moneying. And I remember saying like, I literally am like in this thing for 1 year, like not even a year. And if something happens, the only person these people are gonna blame is me. It's just gonna look like it's my fault. That's all I can remember thinking, which is also the statistics of like what always happens with young Black women or Black women in general who take on these roles following a successful white male founder or CEO. And it was friends that I just got to cry to, who were like, girl, we're gonna figure it out, you know, it'll work out. And it always has. But those moments or those things have been what's honestly held me. And also my family, like my mom, my aunts, you know, just keeping me in good spirits when I really just didn't want to be. Yeah.
There's Mary Pat, the leader, and Mary Pat, the person. How do you make sure you do not lose one while serving the other?
I feel like they're the same. LOL, Drina. I literally...
LOL.
That's my... Drina hates when I say that, y'all. She's like...
I just think it's hilarious because I did not understand. I didn't know what was happening when you started saying it, to be honest.
But honestly, I feel like they're the same person. Again, like, I feel like my mom has, like, really put, like, service and, like, the work in us. That it's honestly always been very difficult for me to separate the two. Because I feel like they're so interconnected. And I've never really been able to differentiate the two. Like, I was honestly talking to my mom and I was like, do I even have a hobby? What's my hobby?
You have that farm.
Yeah, I have an aeroponics farm, but it doesn't feel like a hobby. Now it feels like...
I don't know a lot of people that have that, though. So, like...
Yeah, but now it feels like a job. Because now I actually, like, have, like, invested so much into this thing that, like, if it doesn't work out, I guess we have lettuce, you know? But now it doesn't feel like a hobby. I feel like hobbies for some people might be, like, fun. Like, you know, I enjoy my farm 100%. But I feel like my family enjoy it more than I do.
So what do you enjoy doing?
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like I'm just now on that journey. And that's why, Forbes, I'm still young. Okay? I am still on a journey to find out what makes
They didn't say you weren't young.
They said that I was an auntie.
Oh, my God.
It's okay. But I'm still on that journey. I'm still trying to find out, like, what that is for me. And even now, like, I feel like I am in a space where I'm like, do I even have the time to do that? Because now I have a whole other person who I am caring for that literally, she's mean. She's mean to me. She's not mean to my mom, though. But she is mean to me, and she just keeps me together. She's like, Mom, no. And she's only 1 year old. So it's a humbling experience every single day. But now I have this person who I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I have hobbies, but now she has to have hobbies, right? Like, what does she want to do? she's got to go to swim class, and I got to go and make $1 million tomorrow to pay the staff. And like all of these things are happening. And then I still have a man.
You got to figure out.
I got to keep on to that man because it's a drought. I'm trying to hold on to that man as possible. And my mom is like, girl, you're working. You're letting yourself go. She's like, comb your hair. The motherhood is winning. My mom called me the other day. She's like, motherhood is winning. Your hair is a mess. You need to go get your nails done. Your man looks good. He's fit. He jogs. She's like, you're getting weight again. Like, my mom is like, girl,
Moms keep
don't
it
let
real.
it go.
Don't
Let yourself go because you're going to lose that good man. So it's just a lot that I'm trying to, like, do all at once while also maintaining, you know, this organization.
Yeah.
While also, you know, supporting, you know, equity for all in, like, other ways. You know, continuing to, like, nourish other seeds that I have planted.
You're wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah. So we're just still trying to figure it out.
But also give yourself some grace and, you know, accomplish what you can accomplish in that moment and in that day.
Yeah.
When a young leader you trained steps into their own power years from now and they say your name, what do you hope they remember about the way you showed up for them?
I hope they remember that Mary Pat advocated for them, that Mary Pat supported them in more ways than one. Whether that was like, I've always wanted to be in PR, and Mary Pat was like, let's try to support you in like doing some stuff with EFA on like, you know what I mean? Or like, I always wanted to be an ED of my own organization. So Mary Pat invested in like us getting fundraising lessons. You know, all of my staff when I took on this role, things that I wish I would have had before I took on this role, like I made sure we poured back into them.
Like what?
Like fundraising. Before I took on this role, I had never fundraised a day in my life. And so literally insane. That is crazy. Like no one taught me anything. I probably like just did like 2 or 3 funder meetings with Max, maybe a little bit more than that, but a couple funder meetings with Max. But he prepared all the documents. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I just listened to him flow. And he had done this for years. But when I got into this role, I had to learn how to like write grants, full on like 10, 20-page proposals. I had to learn how to like develop my own budgets, manage my budgets, watch my financials every single day, you know, a lot. And one of the things I realized was like when I stepped into this role, one, we're always going to meet the moment. But also, was I super prepared to take on this role? Because I didn't have the knowledge on the different things that I needed to know. And even still, I think the mentors that I did have, they weren't even like in this space. What I mean was like, Rise at the time was like a 70% white organization. You know what I mean? Their funders weren't the funders that were funding the organizations that I had worked in prior to. Nor was the budget what the organizations that I had worked in prior to had, right? And so I was in a whole different league to where even if I was like leaning on some of the people that I knew historically, like they weren't used to doing or meeting with or talking to the people that I was talking to to ask for money or ask for things. And so me, I'm like, okay, all of my estate directors, all of my deputy directors, like I want to make sure that y'all know how to fundraise. Because when you leave here, I don't want anyone saying you really weren't the deputy or estate director of anything. You don't know how to manage a budget. You never raised the dime. And so supporting them and being able to do that, supporting them in being able to like create their own budget, create their own state plans, things that I knew a little bit about, but did not know enough about to like lead a whole organization. And again, like it worked out for me because again, I still had that mentorship. I still had other people that I could lean on to ask for help, but everybody doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So when people say something about Mary Pat in 30 years, I want them to be able to be like, well, I didn't know this before I met Mary Pat, but like she hooked me up with that. I was down on my luck. I called Mary Pat and she said, well, let me see how we can like make something shake and figure it out. And I just want them to know that I'm like a champion for them, or I was. If someone could say something about me, they would be like, Mary Pat was definitely a champion for me. I would hope that's what they would say.
I think also, like, because you just said it, we gonna meet the moment. Mary Pat gonna meet the moment.
Oh, we're gonna meet the moment. It might be hard. I might be in the bed crying at night, throwing up, sleepless. But we are going to figure it out. We are definitely gonna figure it out. And I really credit my mom to that too, because that's just who she was. Don't say Drina, because I literally was telling my mom the other day. No, I was telling her the other day, I was like, you literally, we could not lose with my mother. Like, we cannot lose.
So it's fear of losing.
It was just kind of like, if you don't win, then you're a loser. You know what I mean? Like, my mom was very hard on us. She was very, very hard on us. So, like, yes, we definitely meet the moment. And my brother, like, for example, my brother is the youngest restaurant owner in Georgia. Like, it would surprise people.
How old is he?
He's 19 now. He has, like, 3 locations.
What are his restaurants?
It's called Mason Superhouse. It's literally 7 minutes away on the Beltline. One of his locations is 7 minutes away on the Beltline. It's literally, I dropped him off and came over here. That's why I was so early. But I'm like, it sounds crazy, but also, you don't know my mother. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Mary's done all these things.
Yeah, we'll meet the moment.
Yeah, like, that's just how things have always been. And it's been ingrained in us. So, yeah.
But it's worked to your advantage.
Yeah, I feel like it has. And I tell my brother all the time, hopefully, you know, he buys me that G-Wagon. He's like hopefully he gets to that point, you know.
He got 3 locations. He on his way.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm going to do some quick fire questions. So I want you to think of the first thing that comes to mind, okay? One song that is always on your personal organizing playlist.
One song that's always on my personal organizing playlist. This is hard, Drina. I listen to Afrobeat all day. I guess I'm just going to have to just keep it basic and just be like Freedom with Kendrick Lamar and Beyonce.
Keep it basic.
No, like, I feel like everyone, because now that song had been played out because of, it was like Kamala's theme song. Yeah. But that is definitely like one of my favorite organizing songs, for sure.
A quote or phrase you return to when the work feels heavy.
It's like a quote, like, who am I to be? But like, it's a quote that I learned from Gabby. And there's like one hand holding the other. Who am I not to be by myself? It's like a poem. Okay. And it's about a Black woman who literally had like no model. Like, she just made it up as she went. Okay. But like, she figured it out. And so hopefully, like, she's that legacy for other young women so that they can like learn from it. And so they don't have to like recreate the wheel. I'm gonna have to find out what that quote is. But it's a poem that I say all the time. I actually used to have it screenshotted on my screensaver.
You don't remember the quote?
I don't even remember what day it is, but I literally don't remember like the exact quote verbatim. Okay. But I do know that it like speaks to me every time like I read it, for sure.
If you weren't organizing or leading civic work, what surprising path would you take?
This is gonna be so surprising. Y'all, I would have been an actress.
Okay.
I would have been an actress. So growing up, my mom is always like, whenever we would tell my mom like we want to do something, she's like, okay, let's just see. Let's see how it goes. Of course, you can't be a loser when you do it. But let's just see how it goes. And if you're not that good, we're just going to pivot. So I actually used to I used to go to this acting school called like AGI, which is actually very popular now because like everybody sends their kids to AGI. But I used to go to this acting, and Miss Natasha is the bomb. Okay. And Miss Natasha, so my mom, like 3 days a week, I was acting, singing. I could not sing worth a lick. But Miss Natasha would always say, like, fake it till you make it, girl. Fake it till you make it. So we used to go to, like, auditions and stuff in, like, LA and all these places. Really? And I actually remember, this was when I was younger, like elementary school, middle school. But I remember Miss Natasha took me to LA. I did really, really good in an audition. But I butchered the monologue. And the guy in front of everybody was like, so is that what the monologue said? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what the monologue said. He's like, well, I wrote that monologue. And I was like, well, I'm not getting this job. But that is exactly what I would do if I was not an organizer. I really do enjoy, acting. And like, I haven't done it in a really, really long time.
But maybe that'll be in like your next chapter. Mary Pat, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you for all the work that you do and ensuring that like people like my voice are actually heard. Because oftentimes, and I remember telling Drina that I always had the idea like,
this is not the point of this.
No, listen, okay. I have to say this. When you do the work, people see it, but that's not always the case. And there have been so many times where like Black women's voices or like the work that they do is often not highlighted or seen. And people who really don't do the work are always like just platformed out there. And so we actually need people like you who like care about the work, care about like what we're actually doing to like put it out there so that people can no longer continue to overlook the amazing things that we are doing. And so shouts out to WIT PR. LOL, should I do a but no, thank you. No, literally thank you for not only just this platform and like the podcast where we're able to see so many amazing people and the things that they're doing, but also just the work that you do on a day-to-day.
Okay.
So yes, I have to say that.
Thank you.
A little wrap up.
Oh.